I stayed in the rain for 3 hours waiting at the bus stop, holding an umbrella for them, but when the bus arrived, they walked away under someone else's umbrella without even noticing me. My name doesn't matter anymore. What matters is what I did, and how spectacularly it's the best thing that ever happened to me. It started with a text message, working late again. Don't wait. Sarah had been sending variations of this message for 2 months. 2 months of cold dinners, empty beds, and conversations that felt like reading from a script. We'd been together for 4 years, engaged for 8 months. The wedding was supposed to be next spring. I stared at that text sitting in my car outside her office building at 7 p.m. Her floor was dark. Every window black. That's when I saw her, walking out of the building with him, laughing at something he said, her hand on his arm for just a second too long. The way she looked at him. The way she used to look at me. My hands were shaking as I drove home. Not from anger, from this sick, hollow feeling spreading through my chest like. I called my buddy Marcus. Told him what I saw. Instead of telling me to talk to Sarah, to work it out, he said something that changed everything. Dude, if she's moving on, maybe should too. Young, deserve better. Better. Like Sarah wasn't already the best thing in my. But that word stuck. Better. 2 days later, I was at the gym when I saw her. Rebecca from the marketing department at work. She'd always been friendly, always smiled when we passed in the hallway. Pretty in that effortless way that makes look twice. Hey stranger, she said, stepping onto the treadmill next to mine. Haven't seen in forever. We talked for 20 minutes. She laughed at my jokes, asked about my weekend plans. When she suggested grabbing coffee sometime, I said yes before I could stop. It was just coffee, I told. Just talking to someone who actually wanted to hear what I had to say. But I didn't tell Sarah about it. The coffee turned into lunch. Lunch turned into drinks after work. She listened when I complained about feeling neglected. Nodded when I said I felt like a stranger in my own relationship. Deserve someone who makes time for. She said, her hand covering mine across the table. I should have pulled away, should have gone home and fought for what Sarah and I had. Instead, I turned my hand over and let our fingers intertwine. 3 weeks later, I was in Rebecca's apartment. I won't go into details. This isn't about the physical part. This is about the moment I became someone I didn't recognize. The moment I chose temporary validation over permanent love. I told it was just one time, a mistake I'd never repeat. But once crossed that line, it gets easier to cross it again. And again. For 2 months I lived a double. Sarah working late, me with Rebecca. Sarah too tired to talk, Rebecca on every word. Sarah falling asleep on the couch, Rebecca making me feel wanted. I convinced I was the victim. That Sarah had pushed me away first. That I was just responding to neglect. The truth is simpler and uglier. I was selfish. I wanted everything. The security of Sarah, the excitement of Rebecca. The we'd built and the thrill of something new. I got sloppy. Started taking calls I shouldn't answer. Coming home later than I should. Picking fights over nothing to justify my anger. Sarah knew something was wrong. I could see it in her eyes. The way she watched me when she thought I wasn't looking. The way she'd start to say something then stop. But she never asked. Maybe she didn't want to know. Maybe she hoped whatever was happening would pass. Or maybe she was dealing with her own situation. The night it all came apart was thirsted that she'd be home by 8. I was supposed to meet Rebecca at 7:30. I figured I had time for a quick dinner, then home before Sarah got suspicious. Except Sarah came home at 7:15. I was in Rebecca's car in our driveway when the garage door opened. Sarah's headlights swept across us like a spotlight. For maybe 10 seconds nobody moved. Sarah behind her windshield, me frozen in the passenger seat, Rebecca's hand still on my thigh. Then Sarah put her car in reverse and drove away. I called her phone 57 times that night. 57 voicemails begging her to come home to let me explain. She finally answered at 2 a.m. I trusted, she said. Her voice was steady, but I could hear she'd been crying. I trusted completely. Sarah, please, let me explain. There's nothing to explain. I saw everything and anything. It was a mistake. Don't. Her voice cracked. Don't make it worse by lying more. The line went quiet. I thought she'd hung. I've been working late, she said finally, because I've been planning our wedding. Every detail, every flower, every song, every moment I thought would be the happiest day of our lives. My chest felt like it was caving in. I had samples of wedding cake in my car tonight. Vanilla with raspberry filling. Favorite. I couldn't speak. I was excited to surprise. To show what I'd been working on. To see face when realized I love pie. Sarah. Instead I found with her. The silence stretched between us like a canyon. I'm staying at my sister's tonight, she said. Don't call me again. She hung. That was 6 weeks ago. The woman who loved me enough to spend every free moment planning our perfect day won't even look at me now. I destroyed us for someone who meant nothing. Away 4 years for 2 months of lies. And the worst part, I'm the one who stood in the rain holding an umbrella, waiting for her to choose me. But I was the rain. The funeral for our relationship happened in slow motion. First, Sarah's sister Emma showed the next morning with 2 guys in a U-Haul. I watched from the window as they loaded box after box of Sarah's. 4 years of shared memories reduced to cardboard containers, her books, her plants. The ceramic all we bought on our first vacation together. She'd insisted it was cute. I'd said it was hideous. Now I'd give anything to see it on our kitchen counter again. Emma saw me watching and flipped me off. Fair enough. I tried to go to work that Friday. Sat in my car in the parking lot for an hour. Couldn't get out. Everyone would know. Small company, smaller world. By now someone had seen the U-Haul. Somewhat. Rebecca texted Air. Okay, wanna talk? I deleted it without responding. Called in sick. Spent the day going through Sarah's stuff she'd left behind, her favorite coffee mug. A sweater that still smelled like her perfume. The engagement ring sitting on the kitchen counter like an accusation. That weekend, I learned what real loneliness feels like. Not the loneliness of being physically alone. The loneliness of knowing did this to that every person who should comfort has every right to instead. My mom called Sunday evening. Sarah's mother called me, she said. No hello, no small talk. She told me what did. Mom, I can explain. Explain what? How cheated on the girl who loved. How humiliated her. How away the best thing in. I'd never heard my mother sound disgusted with me before. It was worse than yelling. She was like a daughter to me. Mom continued. I was looking forward to grandchildren, to watching 2 grow old together. I made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to pick milk. This was a choice. A series of choices, she hung. Monday at work was a masterclass in social exile, the conversations that stopped when I walked by. The way people suddenly found their phones very interesting when I entered a room. Rebecca wouldn't even make eye contact. At lunch I overheard Jennifer from HR talking to someone. I always liked Sarah. She seemed so sweet. I can't believe he did that to her. I heard she's been working crazy hours planning their wedding, someone replied. Can't imagine finding out like that. I ate alone in my car. Tuesday, Sarah's best friend Jessica cornered me in the coffee shop near my apartment. I want to know what done, she said, sliding into the seat across from me uninvited. Jessica, please. She hasn't eaten in 4 days. 4 days. Emma has to force her to drink water. My coffee tasted like ash. She blames herself. Keep saying she should have been home more. Should have paid more attention, should have seen the signs. It wasn't her fault. Of course it wasn't her fault. But she doesn't know that. She thinks she failed somehow. Jessica leaned forward, her voice dropping to a whisper that deeper than shouting. She asked me yesterday if she's unlovable. Sarah, the most loving person I know, asked me if there's something wrong with her that makes men cheat. I wanted to disappear. She's seeing a therapist now. Because the person she trusted most in the world taught her that trust is. Jessica stood. I hope it was worth it. That night, I drove past the hotel where Sarah and I were supposed to have our reception. The place we toured 6 months ago, holding hands and dreaming about our perfect day. I sat in the parking lot and called the wedding planner. I need to cancel everything, I said. Oh, long pause. I'm so sorry to hear that. Can I ask what happened? Happened. Canceling a wedding is expensive, deposits lost, contracts broken, dreams monetized and itemized. Each call was another nail in the coffin of what we'd built together. The florist, $800 non-refundable. The photographer, I'm sorry for loss. The caterer, I'll waive the fee, I've been married 30 years. I know how much this must. Her kindness made it worse. By Wednesday, word had spread to our wider social circle. My phone buzzed with texts I couldn't bear to answer. Dude, what happened with Sarah? College roommate, heard about the wedding. Okay, cousin Sarah's devastated. What did do? High school friend. Each message was a reminder of how public our love had been. How many people had been invested in our story. How many witnesses there were to my failure. Thursday I saw Sarah. I was grocery shopping, trying to figure out how to feed without her, wandering the aisles like a lost child, putting random items in my cart. She was in the produce section, looking smaller than I remembered, thinner. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun and she was wearing my old college sweatshirt. For a second, muscle memory kicked in. I almost called out to her, almost walked over like nothing had changed. Then I saw her face when she noticed me. It wasn't anger. Anger would have been easier. It was nothing. Complete hollow nothing. She looked at me like I was a stranger. Like 4 years of shared love, shared dreams had been erased. She turned her cart around and walked away. I stood there holding a bag of apples I didn't want, watching the love of mine disappear around the corner. The worst part wasn't that she hated me. The worst part was that I'd become someone not worth hating. I'd become invisible, the person who used to see everything beautiful in me. That night I found our old photo albums. Page after page of proof that we'd been happy. Really genuinely happy. Sarah laughing at my terrible jokes. Me kissing her forehead at her college graduation. Both of us covered in paint or attempting to redecorate the bathroom. The moment I proposed, her face pure joy and surprise. In every picture, we looked at each other like we'd found something precious. I'd thrown it all away for someone whose last name I had to think about to remember. 2 weeks after Sarah moved out, Rebecca tried to talk to me. I feel terrible about what happened, she said, catching me by my car after work. Of course I do. I never wanted to anyone, but knew I was engaged. She looked uncomfortable. I thought weren't happy. I wasn't, but that doesn't make this false is on me. Maybe we could. No. The word came out harsher than I intended. There is no we, there never really was. She looked, but I was done caring about the wrong person's feelings. 3 weeks in, the practical realities hit. Sarah had been the one who remembered birthdays, bought Christmas gifts, maintained relationships with both our families. Without her I was socially bankrupt. My calendar was empty. My phone silent except for work calls and spam. I'd built my hole around her, and now I was rattling around in the shell of what we'd created together. The apartment felt like a museum of my failures. Every corner held a memory I'd destroyed. I started staying late at work. Not because I had anything to do, but because going home meant facing what I'd done. 1 month after that night in the driveway I ran into Sarah's dad at the hardware store. Dave had always liked me, taught me to fish, helped me pick out Sarah's engagement ring, called me son. He saw me before I could escape. Hello, he said quietly. Peterson. We stood there in the paint aisle, 2 men who used to share Sunday dinners and football games, now strangers. How is she? I asked, though I had no right to know. She's surviving. Barely. His voice was tired, aged. Like this had him too. She's staying with us for now, sleeping in her childhood bedroom, crying herself to sleep most nights. I stared at my shoes. She showed me the wedding cake samples, he said. The ones that were in her car that night. My throat closed. She'd tried 12 different bakeries, 12, because she wanted everything to be perfect for her. He shook his head. I don't understand how someone can love like that and get betrayed for it. Neither did I. I raised her to believe that love means something. That commitment means something. Taught her that was naive. He picked a can of paint and walked away, leaving me alone with the weight of what I'd stolen from her. Not just her trust, her faith in love itself. Standing there under the fluorescent lights, surrounded by the tools to fix and build and repair, I finally understood something. Some damage can't be undone. Some bridges, once burned, leave stranded forever on the wrong side of own. And some umbrellas are meant to be held alone in the rain, because we're the storm everyone else is running from. 6 months later, I thought the worst was behind me. I was wrong. The thing about consequences is they don't follow timeline. They don't care that learned lesson or that are sorry. They keep coming like waves against a cliff, wearing away pieces of who used to be until there's nothing left but sharp edges and regret. I found out Sarah was dating someone new through Instagram. Not her Instagram, she'd blocked me everywhere. But her sister Emma hadn't, and sometimes late at night when the loneliness felt like drowning, I'd check her stories. There it was. A photo of Sarah at a restaurant laughing. Really laughing, the way she used to with me. Across from her, partially visible, was a man's hand reaching for hers. The caption, "So happy to see her happy again." I stared at that photo for an hour. She looked different. Lighter somehow but also guarded. Like she was learning to trust again but keeping part of herself protected. I'd done that to her. Made her cautious about love. But she was trying. She was brave enough to try again. I couldn't even get a second date. 3 attempts at dating in 6 months. Each one a disaster. Coffee with Amanda from the gym. Oh, we're recently out of a long relationship. What happened? When I gave the sanitized version about growing apart, she somehow sensed there was more. Never called back. Dinner with Lisa from the dating app. Everything going well until she asked why my last relationship ended. I tried honesty this time. I made some mistakes I can't take back. Her face changed. The rest of dinner was polite small talk and excuses. Drinks with Michelle from work's sister. She googled me afterward. Found my LinkedIn. Connected the dots. Called her sister. Who told Michelle what really happened? Michelle texted me the next day. I don't date cheaters. Work on. The reputation follows. In a connected world, worst moments become permanent record. 7 months after that night in the driveway, my lease was. I couldn't afford to renew alone. Sarah had been contributing to rent, utilities, everything. The apartment we'd shared for 2 years, where we'd talked about kids and retirement and growing old together, was too expensive for one broken man. I moved into a studio apartment across town, 1 room, no windows in the bedroom, paper thin walls. My neighbors fought constantly. The couple upstairs had loud makeup sessions that reminded me what intimacy sounded like. Packing our old place was archaeological work. Each box revealed another layer of that I'd destroyed. Wedding magazines Sarah had hidden under the bed, pages marked with sticky notes. This Dre loved these flowers. Perfect for our first dance. A notebook in her handwriting, Ghost list, his side. She'd remembered my college friends I'd lost touch with, distant relatives whose names I'd mentioned once. She was going to invite my entire world to celebrate us. A folder labeled, honeymoon ideas. Printouts of resorts, activities, restaurant reviews. She'd researched everything, wanting our first trip as husband and wife to be perfect. I most of it away, but kept the notebook. I don't know why. Maybe as evidence that someone had once loved me that completely. 8 months in, the financial reality hit hard. The wedding cancellations had cost me $6,000. Moving expenses, security deposits, furnishing a new place alone, another $4,000. My credit card was maxed, savings depleted. I had to ask my parents for money. What happened to savings? Dad asked over the phone. I'd never told them about the wedding costs. Couldn't explain without explaining everything. Some unexpected expenses. I said. This is about Sarah, isn't it? Mom's voice in the background. She'd taken the extension. About what did? Dad was quiet for a long time. We'll help this once, he finally said. But need to figure out, son. Whatever did to that girl, need to own it and learn from it. They sent a check for $3,000 with a note. We love but we're disappointed. Do better. Even my parents' love came with conditions now. 9 months after I destroyed everything, I saw Sarah at our old coffee shop. She was with him. The man from Emma's Instagram story. Tall, kind-faced, the way he looked at her like she was precious. The way I used to look at her. They were sharing a blueberry muffin, her favorite. He was making her laugh and she was letting him. Trusting enough to be vulnerable again. I should have left. Should have paid for my coffee and walked away. Instead I stood there watching the woman I'd lost rebuild her with someone who deserved her. That's when she saw me. Our eyes met across the crowded coffee shop. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she said something to him, and he turned to look at me, no anger in his face. Just curiosity, maybe pity. Sarah stood and walked over. Hi, she said quietly. Clothes, I could see she was wearing different perfume, something lighter, fresher. She'd changed her hair, grown it out. Small changes that meant she was becoming someone new. Someone I'd never know. Look good, I said and meant it. Thanka, she paused. How I almost lied. Almost said fine. But she'd heard enough lies from me. I'm not good. But I'm trying to figure out how to be. She nodded. That's important. I asked, glancing at her table. He is. Her voice was soft but certain. He's patient with me. With my trust issues. The words hit like physical blows. Sarah, I'm sorry. I know I don't have the right to say that anymore, but I am. I'm sorry for everything. I know are. She looked at me with something that wasn't quite forgiveness but wasn't hatred either. But sorry doesn't undo the damage. I dream about that night sometimes, I said. About coming home early, surprising with dinner instead. About choosing differently. I used to dream about it too, she said. But can't live in alternate timelines, have to live with the choices made. She glanced back at her table where he was waiting patiently. I need to go. Sarah, wait. I touched her arm lightly. She didn't pull away, but I felt her tense. Happy, she considered the question seriously. I'm learning to be. He's teaching me that I can trust someone with my whole heart and not be afraid they'll break it. The twisted deeper. I'm glad, I said, and surprisingly I meant it. Deserve that. She studied my face. I hope find peace with what done, she said finally. I hope learn to be someone trustworthy, not for me, for whoever comes next. She walked back to her table, back to her new, back to someone who knew how to hold love without crushing it. I left my coffee untouched and walked home in the rain. That night I called my therapist. Yeah, I'd started seeing one, court mandated after a DUI 2 months prior. Another brilliant decision in my string of self-destruction. I saw her today. I told Dr. Martinez. How did that feel? Like watching someone recover from an injury I gave them. And, she's better without me, healthier, happier. How does that make feel? Grateful. I said, surprising. And completely alone. Those feelings can coexist. She's learned to trust again. Someone else gets to love her the way I should have. And, I don't know if anyone should trust me again. I don't know if I trust. Dr. Martinez was quiet. That's actually progress, she said finally. How is self-hatred progress? It's not self-hatred. It's accountability. It's the first step toward becoming someone worthy of trust again. 1 year later, I still live in that studio apartment. Still eat dinner alone most nights. Still wake sometimes reaching for someone who isn't there and never will be again. The loneliness isn't the worst part anymore though. The worst part is knowing I did this too. That every empty evening, every holiday spent alone, every birthday without a call from someone who loves me, it's all consequence. All earned. I scroll through social media sometimes and see updates from our old Sarah and her boyfriend fiancé now. I heard through mutual friends just bought a house. She looks radiant in the photos, planning another with someone who won't destroy it. My old friends from our couple days comment on her posts. So happy, he's perfect for. Deserve this. They're right. She does. I wonder if they remember I exist. If they ever think about the guy who used to be part of their group, who it all away for nothing. Probably not. I become a cautionary tale they tell at dinner parties. Remember Sarah's ex? The one who cheated. Can believe that? I can believe it. I lived it. I am it. Some nights I stand at my window and watch couples walk by on the street below. Holding hands, sharing umbrellas, protecting each other from the storm. I used to be someone who could do that. Someone who could be trusted with another person's heart. Now I'm the guy who stands alone at bus stops, holding an umbrella for people who will never come. Because when become the rain in someone else's, learn that storms don't get rescued. They just destroy things until there's nothing left to shelter.